The Sovereign Wing hung motionless in the void of space, its massive hull barely visible against the distant stars. From the outside, it looked like a giant metal fortress, covered in dark scales that glimmered faintly in the starlight. But inside, everything was dying. The dragons had ruled this sector of space for over 3,000 years. They were massive creatures, standing nearly 12 feet tall, with armored scales that could deflect most weapons in the galaxy. Their natural plasma breath could melt through steel, and their claws could tear apart combat mechs. They were warriors, conquerors, survivors. They didn't ask for help. Ever. Until now. Jake Martinez was 3 days into his salvage run when the distress beacon lit up his console. He almost ignored it. Distress beacons in deep space were usually traps set by pirates or scavengers looking for easy prey. But something about this one felt different. The signal was old, proud, and desperate all at once. Well, might as well check it out, Jake muttered to himself, adjusting his ship's trajectory. Not like I've got anything better to do. When he arrived at the coordinates, his jaw dropped. The Sovereign Wing was legendary. Everyone in this part of the galaxy knew about the dragon herd ships. They were living vessels, grown from bioengineered neural cores that bonded with technology. The dragons never let outsiders aboard. Never. Jake's communication panel crackled to life. A deep, rumbling voice filled his cockpit. Human vessel. You answered our beacon. Dock at Bay 7. Come alone. No please. No thank you. Just commands. Jake smirked. Yeah, I love you too. On my way. The docking bay was massive, designed for ships 10 times the size of Jake's little salvage runner. As he stepped out, the air hit him like a wall of heat. Dragons ran hot, their bodies generating temperatures that would cook most species alive. Jake was already sweating through his jumpsuit. A massive figure emerged from the shadows. The dragon matriarch, Scarish, towered over him. Her scales were deep crimson, marked with scars from countless battles. Her eyes glowed like molten gold, and Jake could see the disgust written across her reptilian face. You are the human who answered? Her voice dripped with disappointment. Jake Martinez, salvage and repair specialist, he said, extending his hand. She stared at his hand like it was a dead fish. Your kind is soft, fragile. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no defenses. Your lives burn out in mere decades. Why would we trust you with our survival? Jake lowered his hand slowly. Well, you called for help. I'm guessing that means you're pretty desperate. So how about we skip the part where you insult my species and get to the problem? Scarish's eyes narrowed dangerously. For a moment, Jake wondered if he'd pushed too far. Then she turned and walked deeper into the ship. Follow. Touch nothing. The corridors of the Sovereign Wing were like walking through the belly of a living creature. Walls pulsed with faint light, organic and mechanical parts fused together in ways that shouldn't work but somehow did. Dragons moved past them, each one giving Jake looks that ranged from curiosity to outright hostility. They reached the ship's core chamber. Jake had heard about these but never seen one. The neural core was beautiful and terrifying at once, a massive sphere of glowing tissue and circuitry suspended in the center of the room. But something was wrong. Black tendrils spread across its surface like infection, pulsing with an ugly dark light. A quantum parasite, Scarish explained, her voice heavy with exhaustion. It appeared 6 months ago. It consumes the core's energy and adapts to everything we throw at it. We've used quantum disruptors, bioengineered antibodies, neural rewiring protocols. Nothing works. It learns. It changes. It's killing us slowly. Jake walked closer, his scanner in hand. The readings were all over the place. The parasite wasn't just consuming energy, it was actively rewriting the core's programming in real time. Every time the dragons tried something new, the parasite evolved a countermeasure within hours. Your scientists tried to fight it with advanced technology? Jake asked. Of course, Vrax, the science officer, said sharply. He was younger than Scarish, his scales a deep blue. We are not primitives. We've deployed every weapon in our arsenal. Jake nodded slowly, studying the infected core. Then he asked, have you tried unplugging it? The chamber went silent. Every dragon in the room turned to stare at him. Scarish's tail lashed once, a clear sign of anger. Unplugging? Vrax's voice was ice cold. You insult us with jokes while we die? I'm serious, Jake said calmly. Sometimes the simplest solution is the right one. Have you tried basic resets? Isolation protocols? Anything that doesn't involve fighting fire with fire? We are dragons, Scarish growled. We do not run from threats. We destroy them. Jake turned to face her directly. And how's that working out for you? The matriarch looked ready to incinerate him on the spot. But she didn't. Because he was right and they both knew it. Jake set down his scanner. Give me 48 hours. Basic tools. Access to the core chamber. And most importantly, leave me alone to work. No watching over my shoulder. No questioning my methods. Can you do that? Scarish was quiet for a long moment. Pride warred with desperation in her golden eyes. Finally she spoke. You have your 48 hours, human. But if you fail, you'll die with us. Jake smiled. Wouldn't be the first time I've had that kind of deadline. Now everyone out. I work better alone. The dragons left Jake alone in the core chamber, though he knew they were watching through hidden cameras. He could feel their eyes on him, waiting for him to pull out some miraculous human technology that would save them all. Instead, Jake pulled out a folding chair. He set it up about 10 feet from the infected core, sat down, and just stared at the pulsing black tendrils spreading across the glowing surface. For 20 minutes he didn't move. Didn't touch anything. Just watched. In the observation room above, Vrax paced back and forth like a caged animal. This is insane. He's doing nothing. We're wasting time we don't have. Scarish stood motionless, her arms crossed. We gave him 48 hours. He gets 48 hours. He's sitting in a chair. Vrax hissed. Our people are dying and the human is sitting. Then Jake did something that made every dragon in the observation room freeze. He started talking. Hey there, Jake said softly to the parasite. His voice was calm, friendly, like he was greeting an old neighbor. I'm Jake. I'm here to help, but I need to understand you first. Can you hear me? The parasite pulsed, but that could have been random. Jake didn't seem discouraged. I know you're scared, he continued. Being alone is terrifying. Trust me, I get it. I've spent months in deep space by myself. It does things to your head. Vrax turned to Scarish. He thinks it can understand him? It's a quantum organism, not a sentient being. But Scarish held up one clawed hand. Watch. Jake reached into his bag and pulled out a small portable speaker. He tapped his data pad and music filled the chamber. Old Earth music, something with guitars and drums and a melody that rose and fell like waves. The black tendrils on the core twitched. You like that? Jake asked, leaning forward. That's from my home planet. We make a lot of music. It helps us feel less alone. For 6 hours straight, Jake sat there playing different songs, talking between tracks. He told the parasite about Earth, about the ocean, about his grandmother who raised him. He talked about his first salvage job, about the time he nearly died in a solar storm, about why he chose to work alone in space. The dragons watched in complete bafflement. This is his plan? A younger dragon whispered. Storytelling? But something was changing. The parasite's pulses were starting to match the rhythm of the music. When Jake played something fast, the tendrils moved faster. When he played something slow and sad, they slowed down too. Jake noticed. His eyes lit up. You're listening, he said, sitting up straighter. You're actually listening, aren't you? He switched the music to something with a very clear pattern, a simple beat that repeated. The parasite's pulses synchronized almost immediately. Jake started laughing. Holy shit, you're trying to communicate. Vrax burst into the chamber. What are you babbling about, human? Jake spun around, his face flushed with excitement. It's not attacking. Look at the pattern of its pulses. They're not random. They're responses. It's been trying to talk to you this whole time, but you kept hitting it with weapons and countermeasures. You treated it like an enemy, so it defended itself by adapting. That's impossible, Vrax said flatly. Quantum parasites don't have consciousness. They're biological machines. Then why is it syncing to music? Jake challenged. Watch. He played a pattern, 3 short beats, 2 long beats, then a pause. The parasite pulsed back the exact same pattern. The room went silent. Jake played it again but changed the last beat. The parasite changed its response to match. Scarish's voice came through the comm system, heavy with disbelief. What are we seeing? Jake stood up, his mind racing. It's lonely. I think it got separated from a collective consciousness somehow. Maybe its whole species is like that, linked together. Imagine being ripped away from everyone you've ever known, thrown into this dark space, and every time you try to reach out, you get hit with weapons. You'd adapt to. You'd learn to defend yourself. He moved closer to the core, studying the infection patterns. Every time you attacked it, it learned from you. It wasn't trying to kill you. It was trying to survive. And maybe, just maybe, it was trying to tell you it was scared. Vrax shook his head slowly. I don't know what this is. Jake pulled out his data pad and started typing rapidly. It understands patterns. Music, rhythms, repetition. That's how we're going to talk to it. Not with quantum weapons or biotech. With the universal language of patterns. He spent the next several hours building something on his data pad. Not a weapon or a cure. A translator. He used the Fibonacci sequence, prime numbers, musical scales, and simple binary code. Things that existed in nature across the universe. Mathematical truths that any intelligence might recognize. When he finished, he connected his data pad to the core's interface. Okay, friend. Let's try this. He sent a simple message through, a pattern that meant hello in binary, wrapped in a musical sequence. The parasite went completely still for 5 seconds. Then it responded. Not with aggression. Not with adaptation. With a pattern of its own. A greeting. The dragons watching couldn't believe their eyes. The human had done the impossible. He'd made first contact with their killer. Jake stood in the observation room facing a council of very angry dragons. His eyes were red from lack of sleep, but his voice was steady and determined. I want to befriend it, he announced. The room exploded. Dragons hissed and roared. Scarish's tail slammed against the floor so hard it cracked the metal plating. Befriend? She repeated, her voice dangerously quiet. You want to befriend the thing that's killing us? It's not trying to kill you, Jake said, keeping his tone calm. It's trying to survive. There's a difference. Vrax stepped forward, smoke literally rising from his nostrils. This is madness. We are dragons. We don't make peace with parasites. We destroy threats to our survival. And that's exactly why you're dying, Jake shot back. His voice was sharper now. You see everything as a threat or a conquest. Fight or destroy. Those are your only 2 options. What other option is there? Another dragon demanded. Jake took a breath. On Earth, thousands of years ago, we had these predators called wolves. Big teeth, strong jaws, hunted in packs. They could have been our enemies forever. But you know what we did instead? We fed them. We shared our fires. Slowly, over generations, they became dogs. Man's best friend. Now they protect our homes and love our children. The dragon stared at him like he was speaking nonsense. We did the same with horses, Jake continued. They were wild and powerful. We could have just hunted them for meat. Instead, we partnered with them. They helped us build civilizations. And it's not just animals. Right now, in my gut, there are billions of bacteria. Tiny organisms that technically invaded my body. But instead of destroying them, my body works with them. They help me digest food. Keep me healthy. Without them, I'd die. Scarish moved closer, her golden eyes locked on Jake. You're saying we should allow this thing to remain in our core? Let it continue existing inside our ship. I'm saying you should give it a reason to help you instead of just survive, Jake said. It's alone. Scared. Defending itself. But if we give it a home, a purpose, maybe even friendship, it could become your greatest asset instead of your killer. This is insane, Vrax muttered. Humans are insane. Maybe, Jake admitted with a tired smile. But we're still here, aren't we? We didn't survive Earth by being the strongest or the fastest or having the best armor. We survived by making friends. Even with things that could kill us. Scarish was quiet for a long moment. You truly believe this will work? I believe it's worth trying, Jake said. What do you have to lose? You're already dying. The matriarch closed her eyes, then nodded once. You have your chance, human. But I'm watching every moment. Jake got to work immediately. He didn't sleep. Didn't stop. For 72 hours straight, he worked in the core chamber like a man possessed. The dragons watched in amazement as he built something they'd never seen before. He didn't use their advanced technology. Instead, he scrounged through their scrap yards, finding discarded parts, broken components, things they'd thrown away as useless. He welded, wired, and programmed with his bare hands. His fingers got burned. His eyes grew bloodshot. He survived on coffee and determination alone. When did he last sleep? A young dragon asked, watching through the observation window. 36 hours ago, Vrax answered quietly. Humans need sleep every 16 to 20 hours. He's pushing his body past safe limits. Why? The young one asked. Vrax didn't answer. He didn't know. On hour 50, Jake's hands started shaking. He dropped a wrench twice. But he kept going. On hour 65, he stumbled and nearly fell. A dragon moved to help, but Scarish stopped him. No. He wants to do this alone. We respect that. By hour 72, Jake had built something beautiful. It looked like a smaller version of the ship's core, a contained sphere with its own energy source and neural pathways. A home. Jake connected his translator pad to the core. Hey friend. I made something for you. A place where you can exist without hurting anyone. Want to see? The parasite pulsed, interested. Jake slowly, carefully began the transfer process. It took 6 hours. The black tendrils gradually moved from the ship's core to the new containment sphere. The dragons held their breath, weapons ready in case this was a trick. But the parasite went willingly. For the first time in months, the ship's core began to glow with its original healthy light. Then the parasite did something incredible. Through Jake's translator it sent a message. Not in words but in feelings and images. Gratitude. Relief. And then a question, purpose? Jake smiled, tears in his exhausted eyes. You want to help? The response was immediate. Yes. It wants to enhance the core, Jake translated, his voice shaking. It can boost your ship's efficiency by 3 times. But only if you let it. Only if you work together. Vrax checked his instruments, disbelief written across his face. The core's energy output is already increasing. Neural pathways are healing. This shouldn't be possible. But it was happening. Right before their eyes. Several of the younger dragons looked at Jake with something new in their eyes. Not disgust. Respect. One of them spoke quietly to Vrax. The human didn't save us with better weapons or stronger technology. He saved us by caring about something we wanted dead. Vrax nodded slowly, finally understanding. Humans don't win by being stronger. They win by making the strong want to protect them. Jake finally collapsed, his body giving out after 3 days without sleep. As he fell, Scarish caught him with surprising gentleness. Rest, human, she said softly. You've earned it. Jake woke up 18 hours later in a medical bay. His whole body ached like he'd been hit by a truck. But the first thing he noticed was the hum. The ship felt different. Alive in a way it hadn't been before. He sat up too fast and immediately regretted it. Scarish was standing at the entrance, her massive form blocking most of the light. You should rest longer, she said. What happened? Jake asked, rubbing his eyes. Did it work? Come see for yourself. Jake followed her through the corridors and he could feel the difference with every step. The walls pulsed with steady, healthy light. The air felt cleaner, crisper. Dragons they passed looked different too. Stronger. More energetic. Some even nodded at Jake as he walked by. They reached the core chamber and Jake's jaw dropped. The core was beautiful. It glowed with brilliant golden light, and the parasite's tendrils were now silver instead of black, woven through the system like veins of liquid mercury. The whole thing pulsed in perfect harmony. Vrax was at his station, staring at his screens like he couldn't believe what he was seeing. Energy output up 287%. Neural pathway efficiency increased by 340%. Response time cut in half. Radiation shielding doubled. The ship is operating at levels we've never achieved, even when it was new. It's helping, Jake said softly, feeling emotion swell in his chest. It wanted to help all along. Scarish turned to face him fully. Her golden eyes bore into his, searching for something. How did you know this would work? Jake leaned against the railing, still exhausted. Honestly? I didn't know for sure. But I had a pretty good guess. Explain. Jake took a breath, organizing his thoughts. On Earth, humans aren't special. Not physically anyway. We're not the biggest animals. Lions, elephants, bears all way bigger than us. We're not the fastest. Cheetahs run circles around us. We're not the strongest. Gorillas can tear us apart. We don't have armor like turtles or venom like snakes. We can't fly. We can't breathe underwater. By every physical measure, we should have gone extinct a long time ago. The dragons around the room had stopped their work to listen. So how did you survive? A young dragon asked. Jake smiled. We made friends. About 40,000 years ago we met wolves. Dangerous pack hunters with teeth like knives. We could have tried to kill them all, but instead we shared our food with them. Left scraps near our camps. Over thousands of years they became dogs. Now they guard our homes, help us hunt, and love our children. They chose to protect us because we chose to feed them. He pushed off the railing, warming to his subject. We did it with horses too. Powerful animals that could easily kill a human with one kick. But we fed them, sheltered them, cared for them. Eventually they let us ride on their backs. They helped us cross continents and build empires. Not because we forced them, but because we formed a partnership. Vrax shook his head slowly. You befriend your threats? Not just animals, Jake continued. 10,000 years ago humans discovered farming. We didn't just gather wild plants. We selected seeds from the best plants, protected them, watered them, and kept away pests. Over generations we changed wheat, corn, and rice to grow better for us. We convinced plants to work with us. And they did because we took care of them. Scarish's tail moved slowly, a sign she was thinking deeply. Your entire civilization is built on cooperation? Pretty much, Jake said. Even our bodies are proof. Right now, in my stomach and intestines, there are billions of bacteria. Tiny organisms that invaded our bodies millions of years ago. But instead of destroying them, our bodies made a deal. They help us digest food and fight off diseases. In return, we give them a safe place to live and plenty to eat. We're never alone. We're always in partnership with something. The chamber was silent except for the gentle hum of the enhanced core. Jake continued, his voice softer now. Dragons built their civilization on conquest. On being the strongest, the most dangerous. You dominated every species you met. But humans? We built our civilization on making friends with everything, even things that should be our enemies. That's our superpower. Not strength. Not intelligence. Connection. A long moment passed. Then Vrax asked quietly, what else can humans do that we would find impossible? Jake laughed tiredly. You'd be surprised what we consider normal. We keep predators as pets. We drink poison for fun and call it alcohol. We jump out of aircraft for entertainment. We choose to live in the most dangerous places on our planet just because the view is nice. We're kind of crazy, honestly. Scarish made a sound that might have been a laugh. The galaxy has underestimated your species. Most do, Jake agreed. We look weak. And by your standards, we are. But we're still here. Later, in the conference chamber, the dragons presented Jake with containers of precious metals, rare crystals, and energy credits worth more than he'd make in 10 lifetimes. Jake looked at the fortune in front of him and shook his head. I appreciate it, but no thanks. Just give me enough fuel to get to my next job and maybe some spare parts for my ship. Scarish looked offended. You saved our entire herd. This is a fortune. Why refuse? Because I didn't do it for money, Jake said simply. I did it because you needed help. Though I would like one thing. Name it. Jake smiled. I'd like to be friends. Real friends. The kind who call each other when they need help or just want to talk. For the first time in their 3,000-year history, the dragons of the Sovereign Wing felt truly humbled by a species they'd considered weak. Scarish extended her massive clawed hand. Jake took it without hesitation. Friends, she agreed. Though I still think humans are insane. Probably, Jake said with a grin. But we're friendly insane. 6 months passed and Jake tried to go back to his normal life. Tried being the key word. The story of what happened on the Sovereign Wing spread like wildfire across the galaxy. At first, Jake thought it would stay contained. Maybe the dragons would keep it quiet, not wanting to admit that a human had saved them. But he was wrong. Dead wrong. Scarish and her herd did the opposite. They told everyone. Every species they encountered, every space station they docked at, every diplomatic meeting they attended. The proud dragons who'd spent millennia boasting about their conquests, were now telling a different story. The story of how a single human did the impossible. Jake's communication panel lit up constantly. Requests for interviews. Job offers. Species he'd never heard of asking for help with problems they said were unsolvable. His little salvage ship became the most sought-after vessel in 3 sectors. This is getting ridiculous, Jake muttered, declining another request from a galactic news network. He was trying to repair a busted fuel converter, covered in grease, just wanting to do his job. His communicator beeped again. He almost ignored it, but the signature was one he recognized. Scarish. Jake, my friend. I hope I'm not disturbing your work. Jake smiled despite himself. Over the past months, the matriarch had called him regularly. Sometimes with questions, sometimes just to talk. It was strange having a 12-foot dragon as a friend, but Jake found he enjoyed it. Just elbow deep in engine parts. What's up? I wanted to warn you. The Council of 7 Species is requesting your presence. They've heard the story and want to meet you. Jake groaned. Not interested. I'm a salvage guy, not a diplomat. They're offering substantial payment. Still not interested. There was a pause, then Scarish's voice came back warmer. You haven't changed at all, have you? Still the same human who sat in a chair and talked to a parasite for 6 hours. Someone's gotta stay normal around here, Jake said, wiping grease off his hands. How's our friend doing, by the way? Thriving. The parasite has integrated so well that we've given it a name. Shimmer. It seems to like it. Jake felt warmth spread through his chest. That's great. Really great. Jake, you changed everything for us. My people see the universe differently now. We're not just conquerors anymore. We're learning to be partners. Teachers. Friends. Good, Jake said quietly. The galaxy needs more friends and fewer conquerors. He thought that would be the end of it. That he could go back to his quiet life fixing broken ships and avoiding attention. But 3 weeks later, another distress call came through. This one was different. It was from the Crystalline Collective, a species made entirely of living silicon. They were ancient, peaceful, and brilliant. And they were dying. Our star is collapsing ahead of schedule, the message said. We have calculated every possible solution. None will work. We have 10 months before our world becomes uninhabitable. We've heard what you did for the dragons. We know it's impossible, but we're asking anyway. Can you help? Jake stared at the message for a long time. A dying star. That wasn't his area. He was a salvage operator, not an astrophysicist. What could he possibly do? His communicator beeped. Scarish again. We received the same message, she said. The crystallines need help. Yeah, I got it too. But I don't know anything about stars. This is way out of my league. That's what we said about quantum parasites, Scarish replied. Yet you found a way. Jake, I have a proposal. Let us come with you. My herd wants to learn how humans solve impossible problems. Teach us your way of seeing things. Jake sat in his pilot's seat thinking. A dying star. An entire species facing extinction. It was crazy. Impossible. Exactly the kind of thing he should stay away from. He pressed the accept button. All right. But I'm not promising anything. I might get there and have no idea what to do. That's fine, Scarish said, and Jake could hear the smile in her voice. We'll figure it out together. Isn't that what friends do? 2 days later, Jake's small salvage ship and the massive Sovereign Wing were traveling through hyperspace together. Jake sat in his cockpit, watching the swirling lights of faster-than-light travel, when Vrax's voice came through. Jake, I've been thinking about something you said. About humans making friends with their problems. Yeah. We've always believed strength came from power. From being unbeatable. But you showed us that real strength is adaptability. Connection. Turning threats into allies. Jake nodded slowly. My grandma used to say something. You can't solve every problem by hitting it harder. Sometimes you gotta sit down and understand it first. Your grandmother was wise. She really was. As they approached the crystalline home system, Jake looked out at the dying star. It pulsed irregularly like a struggling heartbeat. Somewhere around it, billions of silicon-based lives waited for a miracle. Jake didn't know if he could help them. Didn't know if there was a solution. But he knew he'd try. Because that's what humans did. They showed up. They cared. They tried to help even when the odds were impossible. Scarish's voice came through one final time. Ready, my friend? Jake smiled, firing up his scanning equipment. Let's go make friends with a star. As his ship dove toward the problem, Jake realized something. Humanity's greatest weapon was never their intelligence or their technology or their ability to fight. It was simpler than that. It was their stubborn refusal to give up on anyone, even strangers. Their weird ability to care about things they just met. Their insane belief that most problems just needed someone willing to sit down and listen. Humans didn't conquer the galaxy. They befriended it. One impossible problem at a time. Retry.